Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brothers Take podcast, the podcast where brothers give their take on gaming, usually each and every week. My name is Kris. I'm joined once again by my brother Eric,
Hello.
and we are back in the room this week to talk about a topic that has actually been sort of sprung by a recent game release. So, Hellblade 2 from Ninja Theory and Xbox Studios game at this point was released last week. By the time people are hearing this, and there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out in terms of the reviews for that game, right? So just so that people know, this isn't necessarily a discussion about Hellblade 2, although I will give my first impressions of Hellblade 2, having started it. But they're very early impressions. But it'll help set the stage as to why we're having this discussion. But a lot of the reviews are mixed. Some of them are very high. Some of them are very mid, right?
Okay.
And it seems to me that the reviews, and I've been fascinated listening to people reviewing it. The reviews are very much coming from a point of, are you reviewing this as a video game, or are you reviewing it as a piece of art?
Okay.
And then that strikes up an interesting conversation, which is what we're going to talk about in this week's episode, which is, are video games art? And if so, or if not, where do you draw the line? Where are some games art and some games are not? And we want to hear from other people too. This is not like an isolated conversation. We want to hear from you guys who are listening. Do you think video games are art? Maybe you don't. Maybe you have a strong feeling about it now, but maybe by the end of the discussion you will feel differently, or maybe you'll feel even stronger about your opinion that you already have, and maybe you'll want to bring up some examples of certain games and things that maybe we don't bring up. So we want to hear from you guys after we share our take. If you guys watch YouTube, make sure you jump down into the comments to share your take on whether or not video games are art, or whether you think that's total nonsense and it's just a form of like entertainment, no different than, say, a game of chess. Is chess art? Is chess a sport? There's another debate. Yeah, this will end up spiraling into lots of different, like, but what about in this case and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, so if you're watching YouTube, jump down in the comments to share your thoughts. If you enjoy this discussion, of course, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future content. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can touch base with social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at the Brothers Take, again, to give your take on whether or not video games are art. Without further ado, let's talk about it. So we're going to start with, I want to give my first impressions of Hellblade 2. Because it came out last week, and this is the game that has is sparking this conversation for us, which I think will be an interesting discussion in and of itself. Now, to preface this, I mean, Hellblade 2, if you listen to any of the reports or the reviews or just listen to developers, it's a short game, right? Like, people are saying they're clearing it in 6 to 8 hours, right?
Okay, that is very short in terms of video games. Yeah.
And obviously that'll either interest some people or not. Some people will see it as a flaw. Other people might be like, "Oh, thank God, a breath of fresh air! You know, a game I can finish." I think in a normal week, because like by the time this is out, the game has been out basically a week. In a normal week, I would have finished this by now. So people are probably wondering, like, wait, this game is out a whole week and you only have like literally an hour worth of impressions to give? So some context. I had the busiest work week of probably my life this year, in a long, long time. So yes, I only got an opportunity to play an hour of Hellblade 2.
On time of recording.
At time of recording, yeah, and hopefully I'll have more played, by next week or whatever.
Yeah.
And I do hope to do a review then, myself. So this is not a review of Hellblade 2, rather just very, very early impressions that will then spark us into the wider conversation. This game so far from the opening is visually stunning, and I want you to experience it.
Me personally, or just
yes,
everyone?
You personally, Eric, and then
Yeah, because
everyone else.
I haven't played any of them, so I do want to play both of them.
Yeah, there's a very I only played a little bit of the first one, and maybe I should play more of the first one, but I just wanted to jump into this experience. I wanted to see um what Ninja Theory would do with it after becoming an Xbox first party studio, like
Right.
with a
Mm-hmm.
lot more money behind them and a lot more support behind them, what this would look like. And yeah, so visually, wow, just wow. Like I just to stop and look around. I probably could have played what I ended up playing in, like I probably could have got a lot further had I not just kept stopping and looking around.
Did you know Ash was Ash watching you?
No, 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 no. I was playing on my own. To be fair, it wouldn't have been very fun to watch because that'll bring me on to the next thing. You play this with headphones. They
Fair.
recommend
Okay.
it, and I don't normally play games with headphones, but I played this with headphones, and I will continue to play it with headphones. The audio design is fantastic. At times, I found myself getting frustrated with it, and then I was like, maybe that's the point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's these constant voices, constant,
Right.
absolutely like it's there's nearly never a break without voices. On every little thing that's happening, there's a voice like commenting or narrating or thinking or doubting or whatever it is. And this is obviously trying to reflect the mental state of the character
Mm-hmm.
who suffers with psychosis. And they've done a lot of work with specialists on this to try and not show, like they're trying to show it in a realistic way and not trying to over egg it maybe or show it in an unrealistic manner.
Mm-hmm.
What maybe an experience of psychosis is like. Have they achieved that? I don't know. Like because I don't know what it's like. Um, and then and from just like playing a game standpoint, sometimes I was like, yeah, okay, you're over explaining. I get it, I get it. But then these are, maybe that's how what it's like though. Maybe it is constant barrage of thoughts constantly. That's
Mm-hmm.
like constantly egging at the person. Um, but just like hearing the different voices, and sometimes they're whispers and sometimes they're louder and sometimes they're in front of you and sometimes they're behind you. It's very impressive from an audio design standpoint. So visuals are stunning, audio is stunning. Performances so far are really strong. Music so far is really strong. Um, Combat, I was very impressed with the combat scenarios that I've had so far.
Okay.
Very fluid. Each fight was like, and I think is choreographed.
Okay. Very cool.
So every fight is one on one, at least so
Mm-hmm.
far. I don't know if that changes. And uh, yeah, it's really choreographed. They're like real movements and really visceral, and you feel every hit. It doesn't. There is like if you pause the game, you can look up what the buttons are, but the game never prompts at all.
Okay.
And the tutorial really comes into if you pay attention to the voices and what they're saying.
That's
Um,
kind of cool.
so it never tells you evade when enemy does this, or like block when enemy does this. It's by listening to the voices whether they're like it's not working, you need to try something else, or and then you might get it right. And it's like yes, keep going, that's it. Like that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
the audio helps to reinforce what you should be doing, and it's trial by error as to
Okay.
like it never. The UI is. I wish there was more games like this in terms of UI. There's no button prompts at all. There's no health bar, nothing on the screen, just the character and the environment. So it looks great. And then the only other aspect I've experienced so far is these perspective puzzles that I know were in the first game too, where there's like the way is blocked and there's a symbol that's blocking the way, and you have to try and find that symbol in the environment to unblock it, right?
Okay.
Sometimes visually it looks cool, but I don't get it. I think I don't understand what the purpose of it is. It obviously it's kind of illusionary. Like she's not really seeing it. I don't think. I don't think they're really there. Like I don't think it's actually like magic signs or anything like that. But it's not fun. Like the two that I've done so far were really boring to do.
Okay.
So I don't know, does that get more in depth or more engaging later? Maybe it does, but um And then I also don't know, does combat the combat sequences I've had so far were really like I was really into it. I was really visceral. Um, but I wonder, is there any more to it, or is that it for the whole game? Like, will it continue to be just because you've light and heavy attacks? Like, there's no.
I'd say that's
I don't know if
about
there's
it.
going to be a skill tree. I don't know if there's going to be other weapons. You know, I don't know if there's going to be things like that.
Hmm.
And so clearly, and if the game maintains everything that it has so far, clearly the game is an intended experience,
Hmm.
right? They want you to feel like the character. They want you to kind of empathize with the experience of psychosis. And they want you to feel this raw, visceral world and experience. Um, so having not gone any further than that and being very impressed so far and wanting to play more, this is being one of my most anticipated games of the year. Um, I was curious then when some reviews were quite low on it, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas I've seen some like 9 out of 10s, you know,
Right.
up
Yeah.
there as like this game is incredible, you must play it. And then I've seen like 6 out of 10. It's like it's okay. And
Well,
all the
that's yeah.
people who are saying it's okay, and all the people that are saying like really high, from what I gather, agree with each other, right? They
Okay.
all they agree with the points actually. Like the person is like it's from what I've experienced now. I'm not saying
Yeah.
everyone is like this, but from what I've seen, like the 9s out of 10 is like this game is a visual, stunning masterpiece. What a amazing, like immersive experience. And then the 6 out of 10 is like, yeah, this game is visually stunning and it's immersive experience. I agree with you, but the gameplay sucks. You know that's
Mm.
sort of where they're coming from. And then the other person's like, yeah, the gameplay is minimalistic because it's part of the experience. You know. And then the person says 6 out of 10. It's like, yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, the first 6 points are for it looks great, it's visually good, good story, and all that kind of stuff. But the minimalistic gameplay makes it not fun to play. You know, I was like,
Right. Okay.
it could have been a movie. I could have sat back and watched a great movie, and I would have been just as happy. Uh, and I'm not. That's not coming from me now, because again, I haven't finished it.
Hmm.
So it begs the question that it seems that people are reviewing the game differently, right? People are reviewing almost separating. So the lower end are as a game, it's lacking. And then
Right.
the higher end, it seems to me, are as an artistic experience.
So what
What do you
this
think of that so far?
right? Okay, that's reminding me. First of all, it's reminding me of a particular movie, but we won't bother get that one. Just sticking on games. Okay.
Sure.
This is kind of reminding me a little bit of. Now, I don't know if this got as mixed reviews as Hellblade 2, because most of the time, all I ever heard when it came to The Order 1886 was bad reviews.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Mainly in that it was too short.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not as short as Hellblade 2, if that's being cleared in 6 to 8 hours. It's actually longer than that game.
That's what people are saying. Yeah. Yeah. 6 to 8
Yeah.
hours. Yeah.
So, but with that game, I think again the gameplay is fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as minimalistic as probably what is Hellblade 2, but it's not probably as groundbreaking, right? It's a cover shooter game.
Yeah.
But yeah, visually and their performance and everything is fucking amazing for
Right.
the
Yeah.
Order. It's still one of the best looking games probably out there. So
Yeah.
would it be kind of similar then to that where it's like if you're reviewing it based on gameplay,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to be disappointed. And thus then if you're reviewing it more on the I suppose the art department and story department and all the other things that make up a game,
Yeah.
if you review it on that regard, then it's amazing. So
Well,
that's where this is coming from, isn't it? It's
yeah,
what
yeah,
kind of
that's the wonder is like, do people separate the two, or are both intertwined as the overall experience anyway? I suppose so. The first, like, not to get too, and like, I mean, you could quickly answer this and then move on, right? But there's a more nuanced conversation in the are video games art,
hmm.
right? So first of all, Eric, are video games art? Do you think?
They can be.
Interesting answer. We put this out on socials and stuff and got a few responses.
Got a few responses. We did, yeah.
Most of them being yes. Yeah, people saying absolutely, or yes, they truly are, or um like they are a form of storytelling. So as long as they're telling a story, then yes, they are a form of art or artistic expression. Which is, yeah.
That's an interesting point because
And then you go, do all games do that? Like, does FIFA tell a story? And maybe it does. It's like there's a
some of the
story
most
being.
recent ones, there's a story mode, yeah.
Yeah. So then, does that make that art? I had to ask our brother Adam, who's of course normally on the podcast,
Normally on the
and
podcast.
who is a visual artist actually, and he's working abroad. Which is why he hasn't been on the podcast for the last few weeks, and
Did he
won't be
give
for the
you
next few weeks.
his typical yeah, but what do you mean by that though?
No, I genuinely wanted his 2 cents, right? So I'm going
Okay.
to read out what Adam thinks about our video games art thing, and then we can share our point of view as well, right? So, like movies and music, they require artistic input, and some works can be considered art. The industry and medium is mostly a commodity and entertainment. Not a negative thing to say, but to say it's all art robs the careful and analytical and scientific work that goes into creating the experiences. I see art as something that an individual can come away with their own self-expression, whereas games generally want everyone to have similar experiences. Of course, there are outliers, but they are certainly artistic. I think they have transcended art, combining art, design, engineering, performance, music, business, interaction, psychology, education, the list goes on. I think we put a lot of emphasis on the art and performance, and all the other departments and important work gets sidelined a little bit. That's my 2 cents. What do you think of that?
That was more than 2 cents. That was like a $20 bill.
Yeah, Adam was pretty good. It was pretty good input right there, I think.
Yeah, that's fucking that's he's throwing out his lecture fucking thesis of this is how you're supposed to answer his questions.
Yes. Yeah. I want full citations and references, please.
Yeah. Surprised he didn't put any in there.
Yeah.
Right now, I wouldn't exactly phrase it as analytically as he did. I wouldn't. When I was answering this question, I wouldn't have took out a thesaurus to to get out all the big words.
Sure. Yeah.
But when you were asking me, right, like I agree with his point. I agree with his point that not everything is art.
Okay.
There are artistic aspects to everything, for sure.
Within? Do you mean everything, or within? We're talking about within the entertainment
the mediums that we're the entertaining mediums that we're talking about. Yeah. So music, movies, TV shows, comics, games, right? So they all have an artistic area, but yes, some are considered more art than others.
Right.
And this is where you were saying when you asked me, are video games art? And I say they can be.
Yeah.
Because while they might all have artistic aspects to it, I would consider, because last week as well, I think it was the same week that Hellblade 2 came out.
Yeah.
Or when it was a few days beforehand, PC got Ghost of Tsushima. So all I've been seeing now, well, not the only thing, but I've been seeing a lot of people taking screenshots of Ghost of Tsushima, and they're these beautiful works of art.
Yeah.
Right? But Fortnite, you're not going to get that kind of imagery and that artwork and design in Fortnite.
Right.
But there's still an art. It's colorization and its design is an art. And the psychology of making this game fun for those who like it. Loads of people love it. It's been going on for ages. Even that is a form of art. But it's not art to the extent that we all know it to be nowadays. If that makes sense.
Well, what do we know art to be?
It looks pretty.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like sometimes as well, like I think people can get a bit bogged down in the like I think, right, sometimes um when people have a debate about whether something is art or not, right? And if someone says that something that maybe does not have a lot of artistic merit is art, and it offends some people, especially
Mm.
artists. Artists get really offended. It's like, how dare you call that piece of shit art? You know what I mean? And it's like, hold on, you're getting very defensive about the word art. You're implying that by calling it art means it's good. Not all art is good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could go
Yeah,
to an
yeah,
art class and get lots of pieces of art that are fucking shit. Like,
yeah.
but does it mean that it's not art just because it's shit?
Mm.
And like, I think that's where it's saying as well. It's like, just because, like, to say something is art doesn't mean you're saying that means it's good. Like, I've put it in a higher class. Like, it's art. It could just be shit art. Like, it could be bad art, but it
Yeah.
might still exist in the art category, you know? But I think where it becomes interesting when people talk about games as art, and I think we're probably all on the same page, the three of us, with they can be and they are sometimes. And
Mm.
I'm more inclined to go more towards the yes than the no nowadays because of the evolution of games and
Sure.
games
Yeah.
storytelling and games as experiences. But I don't know if that's true to say to the origins of video games. Um, where it was a leisurely activity in the same way as like is chess art? Maybe there's, and someone could say, well, there's an artistic merit to, like, someone designed the board and they designed the pieces and there's craftsmanship in the wood. And it's like, yeah, okay, so let's digitalize that a bit. The graphics are great, the level layout is good, you know, the gameplay is solid. But is chess art, you know, or is it just a leisurely activity? Is it just a game, you know, closer to, say, a sport, you know?
Mm.
Um, what's the first video game ever?
Was it not?
Was it like some form
Tetris?
of like a ping pong thing or something like that?
First video game? I thought it was Tetris. Was the first video game. Something like that.
First, I'm gonna look it up. First video game ever.
But then again, would Tetris, Pac-Man, or
Tennis for Two in 1958.
Tennis Fit, right?
Was
Is
Tennis for Two art? You know.
well at the time, probably yes. Because the very first movie ever shown in cinema would probably be considered art. And you know what it was?
What was it?
A train just coming into
Ah,
station, and it fucking
okay.
scared the shit out of people, and they ran out because they thought the train was going to come into the cinema and hit them. Um, I don't know if that was in every single cinema, but there was a report of that happening. But
Wow.
like that, or even like it was, I think another one of the early ones was like firemen rescuing a woman out of the house. It was staged, of course, but
Yeah.
you know, it
Yeah.
was just, because it was just moving pictures. But that would have been at the time considered a form of art.
Yeah.
Now, naturally, you'd have your old folks be like, "Oh, that's not real art. Bob Ross is real art." And you're like, "Dude, Bob Ross is not even alive at the moment. How do you know about him?" But
I'd love to hear people's points of view on this. Like, I really would.
hmm,
I'd love people to comment and get in touch about it, because I do like, it's like, it is that thing of like, is one game art and another game not art, and then when do we select when it's art and when it's not? Like, I do think Hellblade 2 probably is an artistic experience from what I've played so far, and if it continues that momentum, um in maybe a similar way to, like, they don't look similar or anything like that, but like Journey.
right, yeah, yeah.
But then Journey is also a good game, you know, as well as that. But it is like, it is very art. It is a piece. It is a work of art. Like, the experience
Hmm.
that it elicits inside you
Well,
is.
isn't that kind of what the core of art is? Is the which is why it's so hard to define art, is more so your personal um kind of connection to it. Which is why art could be something that's a piece of crap. You know, like if you think something's really bad, in its attempt to try express an emotion or feeling, and you think it's not quite doing it, then it's a
Well,
bad piece of art.
I've just looked up the definition of art to
No, no,
maybe.
no, you're not supposed to do that. That
No,
ruins
no,
speculation.
no. It might help us. No, we'll still be fucking speculating for sure. Right. So I looked it up, and two kind of definitions came up. Right. So one, the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form, such as painting or sculpture,
Mm.
producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. And then the second one says the various branches of creative activity, such as painting, music, literature, and dance, aka the visual arts.
Right, so it is more actually then about the visual and emotional feeling.
I suppose so, yeah. But then, like
So Fortnite is an absolute work of fucking art.
there you go. Like you know what I
There
mean?
you
It's very
go.
visual and it makes you feel, you know. You know, and then it might depend as well. Like so, say you're like and obviously we're not like you know dumb to the fact that yes, video games is a massive business. It's a massive industry. It's a
Mm.
huge commodity as
Doing
well. Like
actually,
we're
yeah,
not,
because I think they were talking on this week. This week of recording. They were talking about on the radio how much more successful video games is becoming over everything else.
yeah, like it's a
Which,
huge just part of the entertainment industry, right?
mm,
And like Adam put in his point, like much like the entertainment industry, movies and music and shows and all these
mm,
things, like they're massive businesses, but they're also how a lot of artists make a living.
yes,
And and artists often have to walk a fine line between creative expression and uh sales, you know, and
mm,
find a way to make both work to allow themselves to continue to work creatively. Because if they just make something that's they're like creatively passionate about and then it doesn't make money, um they run the risk of never doing it ever again
mm-hmm.
because they might never get funding or they might get shut down or hey, even if it is successful, they might get shut down anyway. I'm still not happy about Hi-Fi Rush. That was an
That is,
artistic game. That was also a game. I'll never get over that. But like okay, so you get what I mean. Like we're not taking out obviously, yes, there's a huge business side to it. And you could be total cynic and just say it's all just business and it's all just about money. But it's like, well, hold on. There is like hundreds and hundreds of artists, thousands of artists who work in these games. And yes, they might have a brief they have to follow, but then they try and find their own way of like how can I fit the brief but also put a bit of
mm,
creativity in here, you know what I mean? And I
yeah,
think that's worth noting as well.
yeah, because it's when you're like people giving out about business, the business side of art. And it's like, oh, no one can just do what they want anymore. They can't just be freely expressing themselves.
Yeah.
Well, of course it can't, because it's not new anymore. It's only when it was new could you freely express yourself. For instance, with the likes of Beethoven, Mozart, or the other orchestral people. Like that was kind of though those symphonies were kind of a new thing that they were allowed to do that. But also but then when you take the impressionist artists, they were not following the status quo and they were hated at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
now that's seen as a love. So yeah, when artists want to get paid, they do have to follow a certain element of the status quo, but they have to still give us something new that we want to buy it,
Yeah.
which is the and that's the thing. Like they you can stick it to the man and but that's not going to put food on your table. So you still got to make those sales, which is then what I suppose defines those game of the years. Like Elden Ring is giving people what they want while still being artistically wowzers, in its art department and its level design and its music and all that sort of stuff. And then
Do
that's
you,
probably what defines the game of the year aspect.
do you think it's more accurate to say games are artistic as opposed to games are art?
I would probably say that with nearly everything nowadays, artistic rather than art. I find that when something is trying to just be art,
Mm.
it comes across as pretentious.
I find that people. This goes back to something I was saying earlier, but maybe it's just me and maybe I have a different understanding of it. I still think people have a very high opinion of the word art.
Mm.
And I think just because it's a shit song doesn't make it not art. Like, it's like
Mm.
I'm not sure that it is just like that it's only art when it's pretentious or something like that. Or if it's just done for art's sake, that's makes it like yeah, I think like there's an awful lot of things in the entertainment industry that I would call art, but some of it I would call good art, and some of it I would call bad art. Like I'm not so sure that it's like, um, yeah, that they're only artistic. I do think like I think movies, for example, are an art form. Um, and then yeah, you can get the debate. Well, are all movies art?
No,
And
it's
yeah,
yeah.
it,
That's
it
why I don't.
becomes complicated, doesn't it? Because it's
That's why
like
I don't really call anything art. I would just say it's artistic
right.
because you have
But
a
you would
moment.
call something art, right? Like if you were,
Look, like the only one that does art is Bob Ross, all right?
yeah,
God
get
bless
out of
his
here,
soul.
Bob Ross is an amazing man. But you like if you like, all right, let's just say you were a primary school teacher, right? Let's say you were or elementary school teacher for some other countries and things like that.
Right?
But if
Yeah,
you were a
yeah.
teacher
Mm.
and you had the kids doing art class, like, would you just tell them all afterwards that what they drew or painted or colored, that's artistic, but it's not art?
No, okay, right.
You
So
know what I mean? Like there
okay.
is art, like
Yes, yes, there is art. No, I get you.
yeah.
When you're a teacher though, and you're in art class,
Mm.
okay, you're following a criteria.
You
Because
are?
if you don't
Yeah.
follow the criteria, you can go, okay, in today's art class, we're going to write poetry.
Sure. Yeah.
Would the
Yeah.
English teacher get pissed at you because they're like, hold on, that's my subject.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, but
Yeah.
it's art.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to write a whole book because it's art, or we're going to do a comic. And so you have to, so art class is unfortunately a little different because you have to do paintings and sculptures because that's in
Mm.
art class what's considered art. But I think that's where the pretentiousness starts.
What do you
Is
mean?
art class, and then it go into art. Then people go to art college, and then
Yeah.
there's even more of that pretentiousness of defining what art is, rather
Yeah.
than just you know, it's something that, like you said, read in the dictionary, that the meaning of it, it's something that provokes an emotional response out of you.
Yeah, and it's an expression of human creativity. Is
Right,
what it seems to be.
right. Which then you can make nearly everything art.
With that definition, it begs the question as well if AI generated art is art.
Well, technically,
if
no,
if
because
it's
it's only
not being
computer
expressed
generated.
by human creativity, but then it's like yeah, but who created the AI was a human in the first place, so maybe as
Well,
a
then it all
as
belongs to that one human.
yeah, there's a domino effect where it if it did actually spark from human creativity in the first place. I just yeah,
Yeah.
you could go down rabbit holes with this.
Yes, but when it comes to video games are with that, right? With that yoke, that explanation.
Mm,
Yes, pretty much all video games then are art because there was a creative team that visually created something, okay,
mm-hmm,
and then it invokes a human reaction and emotion and response to it.
mm-hmm.
If you experience it,
Yeah.
if you don't experience it,
Like with that, like would you say that like video games are largely art and the expressions that are not art, like there's less exceptions to the rule. Is that, like, would you say like most video games are art, and if you're to name the exceptions, they're not the majority, versus what other people might say, where it's like, no, most games are just games, and some of them are art. Would you be the other way around, where you're like, most of them are art, but then you get the odd
Okay.
game where it's like, that's
So,
not art, that's just
okay.
fucking
Right. Okay. So with me, if I'm going to be saying a game is art,
yeah,
right? I'd
yeah,
be like, this game is just like a work of art, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Obviously, there's a huge, massive bias coming from me, and
100%, 100%.
and absolutely the pretentiousness is going to kick in. Where I'm going to be like, oh god, Call of Duty, that's not art, but like Ghost of Tsushima, that's a work of art.
Right.
So the pretentiousness is going to kick in if I have to start defining what game is art and what game isn't,
Yeah,
because I'm going to be like, Fortnite is there. That Fortnite. I keep picking on that. Call of Duty now. I'll pick on that. Call
sure.
of Duty, you're just first person. You're just shooting people. Blah blah blah. But Ghost of Tsushima, look at all these like screenshots and images and the colors and the lighting and all this sort of stuff that it looks like that could be a painting. So then when I'm starting to define be a movie or a video game or a TV show, and I'm going to, if I have to define it as art, it's going to be, can I do a screenshot with it and it looks like uh, a painting or a home saver on my laptop or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it just
So that would be
visually,
your own definition for
that
you
would be,
for you
yeah,
personally.
for me personally, where it's
Okay.
like the color gradings, color tones, and the angle and everything
So
just looks.
it's more the visual for you.
Hmm,
Right. Was
the
Sea of Stars art?
right. Okay.
I
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I
Yeah,
look.
there's moments in that where it's like that looks like a nice little comic sort of image, you
Yeah.
know?
I'm leaning more towards, and it's not to disagree with any. Everyone's entitled to their own view on this, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm leaning more towards that video games are art.
Yeah.
But I also highly agree with what Adam was saying, which is like, it's not only that.
No.
And as he has said, it has transcended that in a way. It has become its own medium, where it is so many things and so many departments and there's so much that goes on with a game and an interactive experience. Um, but I also think so. I think it's not just art, but you can belittle it to say it's not art. And I think that's another. I think people who aren't into video games can also kind of belittle video games. Like, if you were to say, "Oh, video games are a form of art," it's like, yeah, right, okay. Like, and they'd kind of look down on it, like it's not an artistic
Mm.
experience, or there is no artistic merits to it, or artistic creativity. And I think that's a shame too, because it's like, well, hold on, you haven't experienced what we've
Yeah,
experienced,
most
and
people
you're
who would say
missing
that,
out on like the art of it. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
But most people who will be like video games definitely have like never played a video game.
Yeah, well, for the most part, or like they've only experienced very particular types of games,
Yeah.
and they haven't experienced further in that. In a similar way, though, where it's like, if like if you're to say to, I'm talking about layman's terms here now, right? But like, if you were to have a general topic with or conversation about music with someone
Hmm.
who maybe just listens to the radio,
Hmm.
and they would make the separation between music and art, right? And
Hmm.
I'm talking about art in the broader sense and not the painting or visual sense.
Yes.
Um, if they'd be like, no, music is music and art is art, and music isn't art. What are you talking about? I think though, if you were to talk to a musician, they would be highly offended, and
Oh, for sure.
they'd be like, no, music is art, and I am a music artist. Like,
Yes.
I'm an artist. I'm a type of artist. I create art, and the art I create is music, and it is intended to give you an audible and emotional experience.
Hmm.
and you might not like it. And I also hope to make money out of it. I hope to make it really catchy, but that's not to say that it isn't art. And I'm trying to tell a story or evoke a feeling in a very short amount of time. How
Mm.
can I best tell this story that I'm trying to tell with as few words as possible that will sink right into your head as quickly as possible? Or in the case of musicians where they don't use words and it's just music. Um,
I love them.
yeah, I do too. Like I
I think they're great.
absolutely love instrumentals. I think that's your favorite genre of music, actually.
Probably. Yeah, instrumentals, because I think it's very I think it's very good, because I think that again is another good example of art not in the visual sense, where it can invoke an emotion without having to use lyrics. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Um, kind of like when you have a movie telling a story, or even if the whole movie's not done like this, but just there's a particular moment where maybe there's no talking, and
Mm-hmm.
just by the character's body language, or the way they look, or the way the camera's working, you're getting a story and an information, and that's really impressive. So I find that with music. Now, that's again not to say that songs with lyrics are not art, but I just think it's very powerful when someone can invoke an emotion and
Absolutely.
and create a story in your head with just the instruments.
I wonder, just with that in mind, because obviously you can intend to create or evoke an emotion or an experience in someone, but it might not work.
Hmm.
You could fail. Is it only art when it works?
Again, going back to the
You know
definition,
what I mean?
if it all right, so going back to your definition,
Well, yeah, and it's
if
not my definition, by the way.
no,
It's
no, no,
just
it's
one that I
your
found online.
definition
No,
because
this is
you
what
wrote that.
Kris said
This is what you.
on this date at this time.
All right, so it has to art on the definition that you read out. Art has a twofold thing, doesn't it? Because it's something creative by human imagination.
The expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form.
Yes, but then also it was to create an emotional response in a human.
Primarily for their beauty or emotional power.
Right.
It's that they're created to be appreciated in that way.
Well, in that case, then, if you don't like it, it's not really art, then, is it? Because
No, I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that.
no, you can though.
I can't
Go on.
because hold on.
Go on now.
The expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated, not that will be appreciated, with the intention of them to be appreciated for their beauty or emotional power.
Right.
I mean, if that was the case, if everyone decided the Mona Lisa, they don't like the Mona Lisa, it wouldn't then it's out. That's not art. We don't like how many art exhibitions you go into where you go, I actually the shit, like I don't like it at all. That doesn't then not make it art, you know?
It doesn't make it art for you.
No, I don't think it's
All right, you know what? In that fucking case, then, our school, the CBS, is a fucking work of art.
absolutely. I mean, think of the
No, because it wasn't.
architects and the
It
blueprints and the think of
It
the
wasn't. It wasn't
think of the
built
artistic
for.
design of it. No, I'm joking on that front.
Yeah, that was not
I'm
built
not
for
saying
any artistic. That was just built to house people. Well, not house people,
to educate,
educate
but
people.
the I think on the wider discussion of whether games are art or not, I suppose where I'm falling now actually is that I'm gonna say I don't think it's fair to just say they are artistic. That's just a quality or an element of them. I think it would be fair to say that video games, as a wider form of entertainment, are an artistic experience.
Right.
Make it so it's an experience with artistic qualities rather than just being something with artistic qualities. Like I think it's important in the same way as maybe a movie, the cinema going experience is an artistic experience. but the movies themselves, maybe, you can
That's
debate which one is art and which one
that's
isn't,
no, yeah, it's there with that one. It's debating which one is cinema and which one isn't.
I still don't understand. I still think that's trying to say that it's only cinema if it's like of high quality, and I'm
Uh,
like, you can have shit cinema. It's not to say that it has to be high quality in order to get the badge. You know what I mean? Like you can have bad versions of everything. I don't get it.
I kind of get where he's coming from.
I know.
But
Yeah.
I do get. I think it's also like though the art thing. If you say something is art, and then other people are like, that's not art. I know what art is. And you have those pretentious fucks.
Who are these pretentious people you keep talking about, Eric? Who are you keep bringing up these pretentious people? I don't know who they
there's
are. Who are these people?
you know them. You know those pretentious fucks.
Are they the
uh,
ones that are giving Hellblade 2 a 9 out of 10? Are they the pretentious ones?
the pretentious ones are the ones you don't agree with. No, the pretentious ones would be the ones where they're like, I know what art is, but I hate everything.
And you don't know what art is.
Yeah, you don't because you like it. You don't know what art is.
Yeah,
I know what art
I'll
is.
tell you when it's art.
Yes, because
Sure.
art is about the freedom of expression. Breaking away
Yeah.
from the system.
Is that like they're like artistic gatekeepers? They're like heavy metal fans who won't let other people enjoy metal.
Exactly. It's like that time when
Like,
people were
they're
like,
Star
"Oh,
Wars. They're Star Wars fans.
they're Star."
They won't let people just enjoy Star Wars. Though real Star Wars fans hate Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is Star Wars art? Is that
There's a question
we
that is
keep branching off.
Star Wars cinema?
Yes,
No, not for you. I know
all
for
of
you
it,
it is.
all of it, or
No. I meant just you take the very first Star Wars movie,
yeah,
right?
1977, baby.
1977, right? Now it is art, okay? And I mean, we have
Before we go any further, just to clarify, yes is the answer.
yeah, it is artistic for sure, right? There was artistic qualities put into the design of everything, right? But that's like a sci-fi movie which would have went against the times. It was quite childish. There was comedic elements to it. Like I do wonder, would that have been considered cinema at the time by like the critics back in the day, or would they have been a little bit more lackadaisy with what's considered? Was everything cinema back in the day?
I don't fucking know. I don't even know where that debate comes from, apart from Martin Scorsese.
Well, I think he was. I think there was a slight element of him being a bit butthurt that his movies weren't doing as well as they used to, and
Yeah,
everyone was going to see the superhero
yeah.
movies.
It sounded like, to be honest, to me, like, and the reason why I got so kind of caught up with that one, and I understood what he was trying to say, but it did come across like, and he's one of the most successful directors of all time, and he's great. I like his work, like,
Mm.
but it did sound like a kid throwing his toys out of the pram, like it just sounded like just wailing and giving out because the other kid got the ice cream. That's kind of what it sounded like, and it's like, look at just. Maybe you'll want to work with some of these people. So maybe, don't be so quick to like. I find it's probably not a good idea if you're in the industry to badmouth the industry,
Probably
especially
not.
if something in the industry is possibly keeping the doors open, which allows an opportunity. Like that's another thing. It's very important. Like the gaming industry, which we mentioned last week, it is struggling.
Mm.
And the gaming industry, as much as you or I like it, needs Call of Duty. It needs Assassin's Creed. It needs Fortnite. It needs Minecraft. It needs these games that are just sort of games for everyone type thing. Like the kind of almost like a tick box activity of, does this have all the fun you want? Like open world, find the towers, multiplayer, great, go.
Mm.
It actually needs them so that you can then have your Last of Us and your Hellblade 2 and your these story based kind of maybe what people consider more artistic experiences, because the industry needs to thrive so that then it's like, yes, we can now take a risk on a project that, and I mean, if The Last of Us Part 3 came out now, it's no longer a risk. But Last of Us 1 was. You know what I mean?
Well, Last was Part 3. After Last was Part 2 now, it might be considered a bit of...
In the grand scheme, absolutely not.
No, probably not, no.
The game was so successful, the show was so successful. You know what I mean? It was only like hardcore fans of the first game who felt that way. But
Yeah.
you have to remember, The Last of Us Part 2 had new fans, whole new
Yes.
fans, people who didn't even play the first one.
I don't know, I just kind of
Josh
Spanner. Yeah,
Throw
it's
a spanner
Josh
in
and
the
you.
works there.
Yeah, Trust Spanner works there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I did. I mean, it got game of the fucking year. The second one.
From everyone.
Yeah.
Nearly.
Nearly
Yeah.
everyone.
Nearly everyone. So yeah, like, so it's not to say that there should only be whatever is considered fine art. Like, you also need the other stuff to allow for those
Yeah,
experiences to
you
exist,
also
you know?
need the other stuff for the kind of the brain cleanse. You know,
Whoa, what? What do you mean?
and so like we take it. Remember the time, I think it was PS4, and nearly every game coming out was big, grand, open world.
Oh yeah.
And so by the time Horizon Zero Dawn came around, I just didn't want to play it because I was just like, I am actually now bored of big open worlds, and I just want something quite linear. That's what I mean by a brain cleanse. So sometimes, like, we can watch the big, grand, epic Dune or whatever in cinema. All right. And people could watch it. And then you can watch your whatever else. That's these big, grand, epic scale 3 hour length movies and stuff. You're like, whoa, I got to really concentrate, pay attention. But then you might go, boy, wouldn't mind a bit of Fast and Furious right now, you know? I can shut off my brain.
Oh yeah, okay.
I can
And,
just enjoy.
take it as
Just
like a palate cleanser kind of thing.
yeah, you're just you brain cleanse. You know, you just shut off the brain.
The funny thing is, when you said it though, and I get what you mean now, but in some ways, my initial instinct was that with games, it's like the other way around. The big, grand, massive open world thing is the shut your brain off. Just go run around the open world and hit checklists. It's like, do you know what? And this is not me badmouthing any of these games, by the way, but like, you know what? I just need to unwind. I'm gonna throw on a GTA, drive around and fuck around. You know what I mean?
Right, okay.
To have
I use
the sandbox experience versus. I don't think throwing on Hellblade 2 is really the experience to be like, yeah, you know, I just need to shut my brain off right now. I'm going to stick on this audio visual experience.
I was going to shut my brain off and let all these other voices
do my thinking for me.
I used the open world as just an example, as that was the first one popped in my head. But another example was zombies. You know, when Call of Duty's like this,
let's play zombie mode. Yeah.
Everyone didn't just want to play zombie mode, where it gets to the point where it's like, give me something gritty and story driven, and then nearly every game had a horde mode, because that's what everyone wanted now. Everyone wanted a horde mode in their games. So that's what I meant. I just used the open world because that was the first one to pop in my head as an example of a time when I felt that.
Yeah.
When I was like, oh, even though Horizon Zero Dawn was fucking brilliant, I cried at the end of that game. But at the time, I just was not in the mood for it.
Yeah.
Because I was wanting my next Last of Us is almost what I wanted at that time.
Yeah. That linear intended experience where it's like, just put me on a path and give me an adventure.
Yes.
Yeah. As I suppose we come to maybe the end of this discussion, because it could ramble on forever and it could go into little off tangents. And here's another example. Oh, what about in this scenario? Or, oh, have you considered this? But
aha, Mr. Bond.
Yeah, I pulled across the curtain and revealed my plan. As a final thought on this, and then there's something I want to ask you afterwards.
Okay.
So for me, our video games art, I'm gonna go with, they are an artistic experience. But it is too simplistic to call them all art or to say that none of them are art.
I
I
yes,
think
I
it I think it simplifies it too much, and that games have become, through various developments and additions and just through the evolution of video games, they have very much become their own medium, and they are an artistic experience. That's the way I would put it.
I not necessarily that they've become their own medium. Well, they have, but in the sense that like music's their own medium, movies are their own medium,
Mm-hmm.
paintings, dancing, comics, manga, TV shows. So I'd say yes, agreeing with you that to say it's art is simplifying it. But I would say that's nearly goes the same for everything. Like, yes, they're all art, but then you're breaking art down into various things to then paintings. But then you break paintings then into oppressionists and Bob Ross and
Man, he loves
people.
Bob Ross.
Man, I love Bob Ross so good. Or people putting themselves into some weird bag thing, and you have to stare at them for an hour. Those weird arty things. So I think art is so broad,
Yeah,
and what you have is you have a lot of people using art to help forge what they're creating.
God, couldn't have said it better myself. Did we find the answers? Absolutely not. You know? But that's where everyone else comes in. We want to hear from you guys. Maybe we're talking absolute nonsense. Maybe these ramblings mean nothing. Maybe it's at least got you to think about it. Or maybe you're like, you guys are so wrong, and this is where you're wrong in whichever direction you feel. And then tell us why. Again, if you watch the YouTube, to attend the comments, share your thoughts. Our video games art, or if you listen to audio platforms such as social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at the Brothers Take. Are video games art, or is that too simplistic? Do let us know. And obviously, as other people are saying, like I think the people who said yes, they truly are, or absolutely in my book, or they're a form of storytelling. So if storytelling is art, then so
Mm.
are games. I think all those statements are true, but
Mm.
I also think that someone can counter it with various other arguments or examples or things that don't quite fit that point of view. Like, was Snake on the phone art? You know, like there's so many. It can become a much broader discussion. But it's so I don't think it's right either to just simply say no, just straight up no and shut down the conversation. I think it's a more nuanced conversation than that. But I think who we've heard from so far had good points. Adam had good points.
Mm.
We've, I think, raised some good
I
points,
I
but
think I
maybe
think
none of us
we
are
did a good
right.
job.
Maybe none of us are right. But on the topic of art and video games,
Hmm.
just while we're here and before we finish up, as a final little discussion piece, this is something that I had thought about for a while as possibly an episode topic, and then realized, to be honest, it would never be long enough to be an episode. It would never make it, right?
Say that, but have
Uh,
you met us?
we really can ramble. um, but then I just thought maybe this is the place to put it. Actually, is when we're talking about art and video games. So while there's the debate about whether video games are art or not, we both obviously agree that there are artistic qualities to video games, and there's art in video games, whether it's the art direction, art design, you know, the character creation, all that kind of stuff, right? Locations, everything, coloration, as you said earlier. Another aspect is the box art, and I want to know, what's your favorite box art? What of all the box arts you've ever seen on a game? And I do think they're an
Oh,
important.
right, that box art.
Yeah, you know, like,
I was thinking it was a box art, like Minecraft, like everyone looks like a
oh
box.
no, 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 not like that. That would be like art style, I guess, in a game. But of all the
Oh.
yeah, the box art, right, which is an important part, I think, because sometimes, maybe not as much anymore because of the way things are moving. But certainly there was a time where you could walk into a game shop, look around, and a game catches your eye that you've never heard of because of the cover, and then you turn it around and read the back, and you're like,
Hmm.
"What is that game?" So I do
Back in that
think
day when there was physical shops to sell your games.
absolutely. So I do think there is something to be said for box art, and I'm just curious. Have you is there ever one that sticks out to you as like that is the coolest cover of a game ever, or it's my favorite for this reason, or it just stands out to me as an incredible, and we can name out a few, of course we can do a few shout outs, but
One that I always kind of liked, actually, I did like it, was the very first Mass Effect.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I did like that cover, because you had Shepard, it showed these different aliens, different characters and stuff. So you would be like, ooh, what's that? It would show the Normandy. I think it shows a Geth ship, shows a planet behind him, and then it shows it kind of Saren's eyes just illuminated in darkness of space. I just thought that was quite striking. Um, so I thought that was a very cool piece of art. I find a lot of modern games though tend to be, and I think actually there's a video on this. I can't remember who did it, but Adam showed it to me a few years ago, where a lot of games kind of do end up looking the same in that it's just here's the character holding a weapon on the cover.
yeah.
And that's it.
I'm finding a lot of modern box art to be very boring, and like I see it and I go like I was it's a good thing I'm already sold on the game because I don't
Mm,
like that art, you know what I mean? Like even like I didn't like to speak of more recent ones, like the cover art to Spider-Man 2, for example.
right.
And I'm not trying to, I mean, they have their own reasons why they pick what they pick, but like to me I'm like surely there could have been a cooler cover than that.
Mm,
I don't, I
yeah.
don't, I don't. I get it. You're trying to say we play as two Spider-Men, but why in that pose? Why in that way? Like, it's not necessarily how I do it. Jedi Survivor. I thought was a weird box art as well. Literally just Cal standing there with the lightsaber in his hand.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes
It's,
like
so it's just the character there with the weapon.
yeah, and like I exactly that. And I think like sometimes people might be like, yeah, but what more do you want? That's exactly what I want. Like you're going to play as this guy. There's no false advertising. Here we go. But I do think that sometimes the box art could be a little bit more
Mm.
um
Like
like revealing of the overall experience, maybe.
here's one where you do have the main character on, if I'm remembering the cover correctly.
Hmm.
Um this is gonna be bad if I get it wrong now. But we'll take the Evil Within 1 and 2.
Right. Yeah.
Evil Within 1, you have the main character, he's looking up, he's barbed wire all over him, and then I think the eye in Evil is a lobotomy nail going down into his eye. And that's the cover to Evil Within 1.
I didn't even think of that one. That's a great
It's a
cover art,
great cover.
actually. Yeah.
And then Evil Within 2, if I'm remembering this correctly, is the main character. He's there on the cover, he's holding a gun, and he has his other hand up like he's praying, and he's got his wedding ring on, but it's like melting, right?
Mm,
And then he's covered in all this white goo stuff.
yeah.
And then there's these like demonic hands coming up over him. And it's a really cool cover. And actually probably plays a lot more symbology, both of them, than what you would initially think
That's
before.
yeah. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. That's cool. That's great box art. That sells you a vibe, but
Mm.
also is like there's little hints of the story in there. Like that's really like artistic. And you know what? Now that you bring them up, I bet you the Evil Within 3 would have rocked. I bet you it would have. There would have been there definitely would have been an Evil Within 3, and it would have. I bet you it would have absolutely fucking
Why'd you
rocked.
do that to me, Chris?
But
I
it's true.
think in like every Xbox game show, I was like, oh, give me some Evil Within
Yeah,
3. And just never.
yeah. Now all I'm going to be looking at for is Gears 6. Really, that's what I'm looking at for. Uh,
Bastards.
I try to think of a few box arts that really stand out to me. It would all right without being stupid and not stupid, but without being like totally biased. Obviously, like I do think that the Final Fantasy VII original
Yeah,
box
like,
art, the
well,
just the meteor on the case, nothing else, not the one
mm,
with Cloud looking up at the Shinra building, which is still cool, but the meteor just so it's so there's something so iconic about it, and there's something very doomsy about it.
mm.
You know, all of the classic Final Fantasy games always had like cool key art, I thought, but that one when you see that with the word final, there was
Right.
something very doomsday-ish about it. And then when you play the game, even in the Midgar section, there is something very doomsday-ish about the tone. Everyone's talking about how like the world is screwed and like just a real dark, dismal kind of score. Like there's elements of hope, but in the hope there's sadness, and I think that art works really well. I think Until Dawn's box art is amazing. That's sort of
I don't
there's
remember that
one top is a skull, and then the
Oh,
bottom
yeah, yeah,
half
yeah.
is an hourglass, and then in the hourglass is the characters, and basically
Yes.
it's like all these people can die and they're running at a time. Like I think
Yes.
that's done really well. I think Heavy Rain's box art
Oh, yeah. That's really
is
good.
top tier video game box art. No characters, just the origami figure and the rain
It's
is
pretty
fucking
fucking...
amazing. But I think one of my absolute favorites has to go to Metal Gear Solid 1.
That's fair.
There is
That's fair.
something about the art there where they do the thing of the one character on the cover. And obviously there's different versions of Metal Gear Solid, so maybe I'm only talking about like the one I have. I don't know if it's the original art or not, but it's stylized and colored in a certain way that you can't like it's not how the game actually looks, but
Right,
it
yeah, yeah.
gives you a feeling of the tone of the game. You get a sense of you're on your own. It's a lone character, and it's kind of shadowy and stealthy. Like and the font is incredible. Yeah, Adam would have had a field day with this one. This is what the
Absolutely.
Adams.
Adam would have fucking...
We miss Adam right now. He would have killed this conversation with
We would have
so
had to
much
shut
like
up, but he just...
we should shut the fuck up and listen.
yeah, that's what...
But have you got any other box art do you want to shout out as some of the best?
Boy, I mean, like, the first one that did pop in the head was like the Final Fantasy games. So, like, you know, you have for 7. I think 10 is really good. I like Yuna dancing the waves underneath her.
Yeah,
But Metal Gear Solid obviously popped in my head because it's just such really cool art design. Even Metal Gear Solid 2 is a very cool art design.
yeah, yeah.
And it's staying in tone. And then eventually they kind of went off that, and I don't know why. Um, other games with good artwork.
I mean, there is so many. We're not going to name them all.
There are so many. And then, of course, the other thing is you have the normal one, and then you have the Game of the Year one.
Oh, yeah, you get different versions, different renditions.
But Skyrim's not too bad.
Skyrim's pretty cool. It's not one that ever, like, you know, we have to mention it because we love Skyrim.
Oh, of course.
But it's not one that where the art really always stood out to me. It's just sort of like it fits. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not.
Yeah.
Doesn't do.
But it's not your guy standing on the cover, like, you know.
Yeah, no, which is a nice, refreshing kind of. I think another two that stand out to me. And there is loads. There actually is loads. And you could go on forever. And we want to hear from you guys too. Best video game box art. Let us know. One I want to shout out, and it's a kind of a different type one, but I think it just captures it puts you in the mood and gives you the tone. San Andreas. The box art to San Andreas is very just of the like era. There's something about it where it's like obviously the font of the San Andreas, that kind of gangsta style tattoo kind of vibe, but also just the artwork of the various characters all sectioned on the box. I think it just helps sell the vibe. But the other one that I thought of is, and again, there's lots of covers for this game, but Resident Evil 4, none of the ones where Leon is on the cover. There's one where you see the silhouette of the chainsaw guy in the forest, and the forest is red, and the trees are tall, and that's all you've got, and it just says Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And there's just a feeling of absolute horror and dread that you're about to go into. That box art is... And actually, I think the steel case that Adam got for the PS2 was just like this chrome case kind of vibe. Said Resident Evil 4 and just had bloody handprints on it.
Yeah.
And that was also...
And so it was the booklet on the inside that then had that red design.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, yeah.
And it was like minimalistic, but like
Effective as fuck.
very effective. I was terrified of putting it on. You know, it really set the tone of what kind of night of horror are you in for.
Actually, another good one, right? Just
Go
my
on.
last one, right? My last one,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Right, right. Because it's actually a really cool art. Again, you're not having the person on the gun or anything like that because you kind of can't with this game.
Sure.
XCOM 2, right?
Oh yeah.
The main. I'm not talking about the steel cover. I think the steel cover was just the XCOM symbol. But on the main case, the ordinary case you would get, it was like the alien sectoid head, right? It's like the silhouette of that, made out of human skulls.
Oh, that's sick.
It's a pretty fucking cool one because again, it actually you have the aliens. The aliens took over Earth,
Yeah.
but then that kind of the human skulls also plays into the fact that they're blending alien and human DNA together. So like the new sectoids are also part human.
Eric, I'm gonna give you another sick one.
This is just gonna go on.
This is one that does have the character on the cover.
Okay.
But then I think they make it really work. And I think of the series, it is the best box art of the series. Batman Arkham City. It's all white except for the blood on Batman's knuckles.
Did you just look at the case behind you and went, "Oh
no,
yeah,
I
that's
didn't,
pretty
but
good."
actually, yeah, there it is. I actually didn't. But like it is incredible
pretty good.
art.
It
It's
is pretty
incredible
good,
art.
yeah.
And it feels like a Batman who is desperate and all alone. Do you know what? So, and then I just want to play some of these games now. We've just talked about, but I think we better wrap up this week's conversation, guys. If you've listened to the whole thing, thank you so much for listening to our ramblings about art and games. And we want to know, obviously, first of all, there was sort of 3 sections of this. Are you playing Hellblade 2, and what do you think of it? We want to know. I will be playing more of it, and I hope to have a review soon. But I haven't had the time to really dive into it. And I think if you only have like a half hour, like I want to actually play it. I don't want to just have like a half hour here and there, because it's not the kind of thing where you can just throw it on and do a mission. Like it's a linear experience. So I want to play it properly. Same with when I want to start Baldur's Gate 3, and I want to do it properly. I don't have half an hour at Baldur's Gate 3.
Excellent.
So I'm looking forward to that soon too. Have the unboxing done. But yeah, so let us know what you think of Hellblade 2 if you've played it. Let us know your thoughts on the overall argument of our video games art or not. And what is your favorite or some of your favorite video game box art that you've seen? We want to know. Let us know, guys. If you're watching YouTube, jump down in the comments. Share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this discussion, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future episodes. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take. Again, to give your take on whether or not video games are art. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode, and we'll be back to talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.